You're listening to the Packernet Podcast Network.
Get ready for the greatest roast of all time, the Roast of Tom Brady, a Netflix live event happening May 5th. Hosted by Kevin Hart, the 7-time world champion gets his cleats held to the fire by famous friends and frenemies on an unforgettable night where everything is fair game. Tune in on May 5th at 5 p.m. Pacific time for the Roast of Tom Brady, live only on Netflix.
You ready?
Showtime.
On May 3rd, summer starts with The Fall Guy.
Let's do it later.
Let's drink a spicy margarita.
Make some bad decisions.
Yes!
Audiences are falling in love with the most entertaining film of the year.
Fall Guy.
Fall Guy?
Fall guy.
That's what the poster said.
See Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt in the movie critics say exists to make you happy.
Trying to make it out?
Nope.
Because I don't either. It's not what I'm into right now.
What are you into?
Talking.
Yeah.
The Fall Guy. Only in theaters May 3rd. Rated PG-13.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident panelist, as always, Ryan Schlip. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_day. So, as I was trying to create a song for Mr. Jordan Morgan, who the Packers did draft in the first round. Welcome, by the way, Mr. Jordan Morgan, to the Green Bay Packers. Welcome to the most legendary franchise, and I look forward to you blocking for one of the greatest quarterbacks in the NFL, Jordan Love, on your way to a new Super Bowl. Very excited about that. I do, of course, plan to put together not only some music, but some fantastic Jordan Morgan merch, which nobody's going to buy, but it doesn't matter. That's not the point. I just want to make it. So here's the deal, though. As I was making that song, it kind of has to generate. I fell asleep. It's one of those things where I kind of just, I've never like fallen asleep at my desk before. It's like, you know, you just close your eyes. You're like, I'm not going to fall asleep or whatever. And then you pull out of it. You know, I'm sorry. When you actually like wake up, like, holy crap, I was actually sleeping. Like I had to pull myself out of a dream there. That's crazy. That happened like 3 times. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't think I can do this. I think I need to go to bed. And I was like, you know what? Let's just get started. Forget the song. Start recording. We'll see how far we can get. So I'm trying desperately to get you this at 4 o'clock in the morning. If I didn't, and if I failed you, I apologize. But why don't we just get started? Obviously, this is going to be the Jordan Morgan show. Look, let's get the whatchamacallit out of the way. The negatives, the things that are upsetting, whatever. And listen, this is the same speech I do every year. This is all these guys were there. There were a pile of players that we all loved. Now, some of us probably loved Jordan Morgan. I don't think I was one of them. I mean, he wasn't really on my radar massively. We have talked about him, and I mentioned that I liked him, but I think if you were to take a poll of the available prospects, who do the Packer fans like best, Jordan Morgan wouldn't have come in 5th place or better, I don't think. Here's the thing the best way that I can think to phrase this, and it's the way that I always do phrase it. Look at Cooper DeJean. Look at Kool-Aid McKinstry, whoever it is that's still available. Brian Gutekunst and his staff are well aware of how talented they are, and yet they chose Jordan Morgan over them anyway. By the way, Graham Barton, unbelievably athletic, really talented guy sitting right there. The Packers know how good he is. I'm sure they like Graham Barton. I'm sure they would have drafted Graham Barton if the chips fell in a slightly different way. But guess what? Brian Gutekunst and his staff are looking at it going, no, trust me, this guy's better. It's not to say they're right, but I just think we need to start from that standpoint, because a lot of people I saw in the comment section were, talking about, well, that's a reach. You shouldn't reach in the first round. Well, it might be a reach based on your perception of where this player should be drafted, but I don't think the Packers would reach. I mean, the only way you reach is if you're trying to trade back and you can't and you're stuck, and so you have to pick somebody that you don't necessarily like. But the other complaint with the whole reach thing is you're drafting guys that should be drafted later instead of these other people. But again, I've already told you that they like them more than this person, so it's very unlikely that it's a massive reach. And if it is a reach, then the Green Bay Packers think every single pick would have been a reach. So there is no other option. There's no way to not reach other than to just forfeit your pick if you cannot trade out of it. But let's start from just conceptually, right, before we even dig into the player. Offensive line obviously was a big concern, huge concern for the Green Bay Packers. I also, and this was just my theory of this, and it's not to say everybody, Gutekunst or whoever agreed with it, because there's a lot of tackles as far as names that are still remaining. But for me, I looked at the tackles and I just thought, you've got a pile of guys and then it goes to zero real fast. I don't want any of these guys coming anywhere near our quarterback, much less trying to keep him up and alive. And so, if I'm not mistaken, Jordan Morgan for me was that entry point. He was that guy on the good side of the line. The first one I watched, I was like, okay, this guy I think is different. He can do it. Now, there's a lot of confusion about where he's going to play. I mean, this is every year with the offensive line. Who's going to go where? I have learned to just listen to the Packers and trust that they're telling the truth more so than usual. It sounds as though the Packers are very firm in trying to make him a left tackle. That's what they want to do. It's like, well, he has short arms. They understand that, and they don't care. They've said that, we've worked with other guys with short arms like David Bakhtiari, and it's worked out just fine. Not to say Bakhtiaris are as small. I don't really know the proportionality, but it's just a massive inconvenience. Like you said, it's I'm going to leave that part in. I'm not kidding you. I fell asleep and did that part of the podcast. That needs to go in the Hall of Fame, man. This is groundbreaking stuff that we're doing. I was sleep podcasting. This is amazing. The best podcast ever. I don't think we're going to get through this. Before John, what the heck are we talking about? Oh, yes. Okay, so left tackle. I believe them when they say we drafted this guy in the first round with the expectation he's going to come in and be a just dominant left tackle. Okay? However, I don't know that that's going to stay that way. And maybe that's just me somewhat wishful thinking because everybody's kind of pushing, saying, not only are the arms not quite there, but just in general, the way he plays, he's going to need to kick inside. Part of it is selfishness, too, because I'm looking at it going, we got a perfect line if you can just come in and be a great right guard. Not perfect, but I mean, it's solid. So can you just do that? But I don't think so. And that may mean that we've got a lot more work to do on the offensive line. But I hate to take it there. But what are the two things that offenses do? Run and pass. And you can't do either of them without an offensive line. And if you have a great offensive line, and I think this can be a great offensive line. Again, the interior still needs a little bit of work. We'll see. I mean, maybe they do put him at left tackle, and he's fantastic. Maybe Rashid can be a right tackle, and then maybe Zach Tom can slot inside. And the only reason I'm kind of pushing this is Rashid is okay. I don't doubt that he can be upgraded, but if we trade that out, we're not actually fixing the holes on the offensive line. We're just upgrading one of the positions. So it would be nice if we could just, again, maybe kick Rashid to the other side, kick Zach Tom inside. If it's right guard or center or whatever, right guard would be better because we don't have anybody there. But if it's center, then it's center. We still need a freaking right guard. But at least then we get a little bit of extra added, bonus. I don't want to get rid of the talented tackle. I'd rather try to go down the line and move people off that are a little bit lesser. No offense, Josh Myers and Sean Ryan. Anyways, I'll tell you what, here's what we're going to do. I can't do it. I keep falling asleep. Why don't we take a break here? We'll do a little bit of an early break. I will come back. I'm going to get a little rest, and then I'll get this posted as soon as I can, hopefully 8-ish o'clock, something like that. I don't know. But what I want to do is, just go through all the stuff that we've kind of already looked at, go into more detail and just hammer this pick. There's a lot of good here, especially if you're looking on the interior. I think he is an exciting prospect, and look forward to learning more about the young man. But we'll take a break. We'll be right back. We all have smartphones, and we all know they're pretty amazing, but they also can be amazingly distracting, especially when we're around other people. So US Cellular wants us to reset our relationship with our phones by putting down our phones for $5. That's right, a company that sells phones wants us to put down our phones. And to see what we find, learn more at uscellular.com/built-for-us.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
Have you ever experienced turbulence on a flight and wondered why?
And you can see all the terrain around you. You've got no issue with visibility or anything?
No, everything's PG.
Maybe you've sat on the tarmac for hours wondering why your plane isn't moving.
Well, we're outside here. They're saying the ramp is closed. They won't let us park because of Air Force One.
Listen in on the conversations between pilots and air traffic controllers on the Air Traffic Out of Control podcast.
512 Whiskey declaring an emergency. There's smoke in the cabin. I need to make a landing right now on 31 left.
We have the most interesting, wild, and funny ATC recordings you will ever hear. Check out Air Traffic Out of Control wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
All right. Slept a little longer than I anticipated, but I probably should have guessed that. It was very late, and I was a little crazy tired, if you couldn't tell. All right. Well, why don't we just start with good old PFF? How about that, huh? Let's go old school. So, Jordan Morgan played 5 years at Arizona, relatively young considering he played 5 years. He didn't really start year one. He played 94 snaps, all of them at left tackle, which is what makes this move really surprising. He's played 0 snaps at left guard, center, right guard, or right tackle. So it's an unusual move from the Packers in that although they believe he can play 4 positions, as they said, usually there's some level of track record. But anyways, he only played 94 snaps. The next year, only 147. Those years didn't go very well. Then he finally got a full-time role in 2021. That also was not very good. He had a 53 PFF grade, 53 run blocking, 55 pass blocking. He gave up 5 sacks, 7 hits, 15 hurries, 27 total pressures. Then it all turned around in 2022. Something just clicked for the young man. He had an 83 PFF grade, 78 run blocking, 82 pass blocking. He gave up 1 sack, 2 hits, 14 hurries, 17 pressures. Then last year, 84 PFF grade, 77 run blocking, 87 pass blocking. So his run blocking stayed the same. His pass blocking went from an 82 to an 87. He gave up 2 sacks, 1 hit, 11 hurries, just 14 pressures. So his total pressures went from 27, 17, and then 14. Again, all of this at left tackle. Also, from a standpoint of consistency, which I kind of care a lot about, he's fairly consistent. His worst game was against Utah as far as grades go, and it was a 59. So it was like perfectly average. That was his worst game. He had that and then 4 more games that were in the 60s. 3 of the 4 were high 60s. One of them was a 69, basically a 70. Then he had 5 more games in the 70s, 1 in the 80s, and then his best game was against UCLA, which there's a lot of talk about the UCLA game. He pointed out, they asked him, what games stand out? That's a pretty common question, so that people know what games to go back and watch, like what games kind of showcase your talent. He said UCLA, which, if you recall, UCLA had one of the premier pass rushers in this draft, Mr. Latu. He gave up 0 sacks, 0 hits, and 1 hurry in this game. So I don't know what Latu did, but any pressures he got, with the exception maybe of 1, he got somewhere else. In fact, let me check that real quick. Yeah, he had 4 pressures and no sacks in that game. Latu has so many pressures, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's, again, I wasn't a huge fan of his, but it's so hard not to absolutely fall in love with his 96 PFF grade, his 62 pressures on 304 attempts. He didn't have a single game without a pressure. He only had 2 games with 1. I mean, it's unbelievable. He had 3 games with double-digit pressures. That's stupid. But, yeah, he maybe got 1 pressure on Jordan Morgan in this game. I mentioned this past year, 2 sacks, 1 hit, 10 hurries, 13 total pressures. I thought it was 14. 13 total pressures. If you look at true pass sets, which kind of get rid of all the nonsense, it was 1 sack, 1 hit, and 7 hurries, so 9 total pressures given up on the season. PFF doesn't grade out zone and gap for college. They do that in the pros, but we can see the splits. So they had them at about 60% zone and 36% gap. I always wonder what else, because it never adds up to 100. What are the other things that they're doing? Maybe taking a knee or something? I don't know. And if we look at his pass blocking, just from the standpoint of looking at all tackles in college football, in order, it's Patrick Paul, Joe Alt, Dominic Puny, Olu Fashanu, Troy Fautanu, and then Jonah Monheim, whoever that is, and then Jordan Morgan. He has the 7th highest out of, boy, oh boy, how many tackles do we have here? Let's take a minute and find out. Let's go to page 2. There are 347 tackles, and he graded as the 7th best pass blocking tackle in all of college football. Even run blocking, which we'll get to, he's actually quite good at. He ranked 16th, and this isn't even just guys that are necessarily coming out in the draft. This is everybody. If I reduce this down to 2024, he is 10th. He's tied for 10th with Caleb Holcomb. But it's like Fuaga, Joe Alt, you got Latham is 6. Who else is even recognizable here? That's about it. And then Jordan Morgan is 10th. And remember, this is college, which is also kind of weird because it doesn't really take into account competition, which makes college a little bit more iffy than the pros, because at least in the pros, the talent level is fairly consistent. Even the worst teams are incredibly talented football teams, whereas in college, there's a lot more teams, there's a lot more diversity. So, yeah, I mean, in this group, you've got Connor Finucane from Army. You've got Caleb Holcomb, who's tied with him from Air Force. I mean, they're not playing the same level of competition. Granted, Jordan Morgan might not be playing the same level of competition as J.C. Latham. But, yeah, I mean, he is a top 10 run blocker and pass blocker in this draft class, along with all the other first-round picks. In fact, actually, how many others were in both categories? Fashanu's not in here. Fatanu's not in here for run blocking. Fuaga is, but he's not a top 10 pass blocker. It's got to be Alt. And is Latham? I don't think so. It's just Alt. So the only 2 are Alt and Jordan Morgan. They are the only 2 that are top 10 pass blocking and run blocking offensive tackles, according to PFF. All right, I want to get into, we got SIS, we got Dane Brugler, we got Bob McGinn. Every time I try to talk about those 2 guys' names, one of them, I'm going to forget. But before we do that, I just got to get something off my chest because it's freaking annoying me. I mean, I'm sorry because I know some Packer fans hold this view, and I'm not trying to be rude, but I feel like this is such a... It doesn't take much to realize this is flawed thinking. That is as polite as I could possibly put it. I saw a conversation about Lions fans feel like the Packers were taken off guard, and so they reached. I'm trying so hard to even understand this perspective. Right? Obviously, the whole taken off guard thing, first of all, that makes absolutely no sense because according to everybody, the board fell absolutely perfect. What the heck do you mean we were taken off guard? But the only reason that sentence would be put in there is because they're trying to sort of pre-justify the conclusion that the Packers reached, right? They reached. Well, why would they reach? Well, they must have been just shocked and didn't know what to do. So they rushed in a card because, I mean, they certainly didn't take all the time they needed. In fact, let me find Ian Rappaport. When it came time for the Packers pick, it says the Packers waste no time. They select Arizona offensive tackle Jordan Morgan at number 25. In other words, as soon as they were on the clock, they rushed in the card. So if they're taken off guard, I'm sorry, I hate to tell you this, they're going to sit back and take a lot of time and go, what the heck do we do? Which, by the way, no team does that. They spend so much time in preparation and going through all the scenarios. They were perfectly content with this decision. So that's nonsense. They wanted Jordan Morgan. And you say, well, they reached. Bro, this is so absolutely stupid. They only reached based on your consensus board. And the other thing that's crazy is the consensus board doesn't even have Jordan Morgan that far off from 25. Even that isn't really a reach. You're so unbelievably psychotic. And this is the weird sort of draft industrial complex thing, where these random big boards and these incessant mock drafts, we genuinely believe that within 2 picks, these guys should go. Anything outside of that is either a reach or a steal. And the idea that maybe we're just massively wrong about a lot of these things is inconceivable. The entire NFL is completely stupid for how it allowed everybody to fall, apparently, according to this philosophy. But here's the other thing. Why would they reach? Well, they reached. Why would they do that? Why wouldn't they just take Cooper DeJean? Why wouldn't they just take Kool-Aid? Why wouldn't they just take Graham Barton? He was right there. That wouldn't have been a reach, right? So you're telling me Graham Barton would have been a good pick, and he was there, and the Packers wanted offensive line, but they were so flustered and panicked that they forgot Graham Barton was there, and so instead of taking a good pick, they reached for Jordan Morgan. I mean, the amount of mental gymnastics it takes to just not come to the right conclusion, which is that the Packers were really high on Jordan Morgan, is unbelievable to me. It's so inconceivable to anybody that the Packers liked Jordan Morgan enough to take him at 25. Well, they must have been stuck. They tried to trade and they couldn't. Why would they trade? Again, they could take Cooper DeJean. Isn't that a good pick? Isn't he a good value? Isn't Graham Barton a good value? Wasn't Kool-Aid a good value? Wasn't Tyler Guyton a good value? Wasn't Nate Wiggins a good value? Why do they need to trade? Why don't they just take somebody that's a good value, that's at a position of need? Because they like Jordan Morgan better. I don't know why that's so unbelievably hard for everybody to just accept. I'm sorry that your big board didn't have him going at 25. I'm so sorry that the media told you that Jordan Morgan wouldn't be the pick at 25, that he wouldn't be gone by then, that he's probably a second-round pick. I'm so sorry. Now, the only olive branch I could extend is to say that it's possible that you're right, that they really didn't have anybody left. Freaking microphone just kicked out on me. On their board that they liked. They tried to trade down. They couldn't find anybody, and so they were forced to sit there and pick. Here's the problem, though. We also then have to acknowledge that every single person on that board is someone the Packers did not feel was a good value, which again kind of flies in the face of your entire theory, which is I know that they reached because of the amount of people, because there were all these other people that they should have picked and didn't. No, either everybody was not worth picking or everybody was worth picking and they liked Morgan better. It's only one of those two things. It's not true that the Packers just didn't know they existed or the Packers are uniquely stupid and that they're the only ones that didn't realize that there were these amazing players sitting there and just didn't understand their true value, many of whom, by the way, are currently available in the second round, so not one team took them. So the same people that are saying Cooper DeJean might not even make it to us are seeing Cooper DeJean fall into the second round, but yet can't believe that Jordan Morgan was taken and must have been a reach because they should have taken Cooper DeJean. I mean, come on, guys. This is just contradictions on top of contradictions on top of contradictions. Let's use our freaking head a little bit. I'm sorry if it wasn't the pick you wanted, and I'm sorry if all the draft experts said that Jordan Morgan was not the best player. And listen, of course it's possible that the Packers are wrong, but it's also possible that you are wrong. And by the way, these same experts that told you that they wouldn't take Jordan Morgan are right now talking about what a great player Jordan Morgan is, what a great pick that's going to be. Bill Belichick just gushing, saying there's no way that guy was going to make it out of the first. He's unbelievably good, et cetera, et cetera. And on and on and on and on and on. Yes, Lions fans at the draft were laughing at a Packers fan who had his head down because everybody thinks that they're so smart. But listen, all we know is that, again, they like Jordan Morgan better than all those players that we thought that the Packers would be, in some cases, it would be worth trading up for. That's what we thought, and that's how stupid we are, right? If they had traded up 2-3 spots to go get Cooper, nobody would have batted an eye, except for the fact that, obviously, Terrion Arnold and Quinion Mitchell were around within, 5 picks or whatever. But I'm just saying, if there was a scenario where they traded up to get Cooper, nobody would have batted an eye. And that would have been a bad decision based on what we know now, that Cooper DeJean would have fallen into the second round had we not done that, but we wouldn't have known that, and we would have thought it was genius, and we would have thought it was great, and everybody would have been gushing about what a great move that is. Because nobody actually knows what's going on. So please stop. The only question that matters is, are the Packers right? That's the only question that matters at this point. Pretending that they reached because they were so desperate for offensive line. Bro, they had an offensive lineman by the name of Graham Barton that supposedly wouldn't have been a reach. So I don't think that's right. Anyways, why don't we skip over to Bob McGinn? So he had him as the number 7 tackle. All right, so he didn't have him as an interior guy. That's going to change depending on who you talk to. Number 7 tackle out of Arizona, 6'5", 311, says, played 5 seasons for the Wildcats. Quote, he's a foot athlete, one scout said. He moves his feet well, moves around well. He isn't real physical. Excellent pass blocker, adequate run blocker, natural left tackle. Not as strong or nasty as the other top guys. Alex Gibbs would love him. He gets to the second level and downfield. What he is, he's a technician with nice feet. Remember that guy from Pittsburgh, Brian O'Neill, who was drafted by the Vikings? He had no strength at all. That's who this guy is. He has the feet. By the way, Brian O'Neill, really good tackle for the Vikings. The Vikings have some good tackles right now. So I would have no issue with him being Brian O'Neill. It says he had no... He'll be a steady starter, a second scout said. Good athlete. Has the shortest arms, 32 and 7/8 inch arms at the top 15 tackles. People will start him off at tackle, but maybe ship him ultimately inside, a third scout said. In today's football, he's probably a guard. From Marana, Arizona, blew out an ACL in November 2022. Quote, I was hoping to see a jump in his play this year, but didn't see that as much, said a fourth scout. He'll be a starter possibly. I see him early as a swing tackle. He's athletic. He's just got to put it all together. You like him to be more physical. One of the things I love about this, anytime you go through the Bob McGinn things, at least one of these scouts absolutely hates the guy. I don't get it. I don't see it. He can't do that. Nobody said that. Nobody was massively over the moon about him, but everybody was pretty consistent. All the scouts basically said the same thing about him. He's not the strongest guy, but this guy's a tackle. He's a technician. He knows how to move his feet. He knows what he's doing. He may have to slide inside. That may be where he's at his best, but he's a good player. He needs a little time to put it together. I have no issue with any of that. All right, let me clear out a couple of my tabs here before we move on to some of the other things that we have on the docket. Ryan Wood says, Jordan Morgan on blocking for Jordan Love. It's such an honor. I cannot wait to get out there and protect for him. That's what an offensive lineman is supposed to do, protect for the quarterback and open holes for the running backs. That's what I'm here to do. David Bakhtiari said, let's go. Good luck to Jordan Morgan. Represent the position, town, and G with pride. Jim Nagy, he is the Senior Bowl guy. I don't know what is his official title here. He is executive director of the Reese's Senior Bowl. He said on February 20th, rolled through Senior Bowl offensive and defensive line again today. Plenty of guys put great stuff on tape, but nobody was more consistent than Arizona left tackle Jordan Morgan. Did not lose a single one-on-one rep, and he's only 14 months post-ACL. Physically, he's going to be even better next fall. Should be first round. By the way, this is a major thing that all of us or most of us miss. We talk about RAS. The Senior Bowl and being one of the best Senior Bowl guys is classic Packers stuff. They put unbelievable amounts of stock in the Senior Bowl. Every single time we draft somebody, or most of the time, there's, I think Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, I think there were several of them, but it's like they dominated the Senior Bowl. And here we have Jim Nagy saying this was probably the best of the entire offensive and defensive line, Jordan Morgan. Ryan Wood tweeted out, unprompted, Jordan Morgan said a player he studied a ton of film on is David Bakhtiari. So I had to ask, what did he glean from that film work on the future Packers Hall of Fame left tackle? Turns out quite a bit. Quote, he's great with his feet, his movement. He's a very balanced player. I take that away from him. The way he moves, he's very balanced, and he has a good strike. He has a really good strike in the pass game, really strong arms, really strong upper body, and he can really lock people up, which is where I got my game from. I like to lock people up in stalemates, and he's just a dog. Here is, by the way, the Pat McAfee stream with former head coach, Hall of Fame head coach, and GM of the New England Patriots commenting on the pick.
Jordan Morgan.
Yeah. Hey, way to go.
Yeah. Good pick.
Good pick. Hey, that's a smart pick.
Smart.
Offensive lineman hit at a higher rate than any other position in the first round. That's a smart play by Gutekunst.
Protect Jordan Love. Right, so, but Morgan's, he's a left tackle all the way. He tore his ACL and then came back and played his senior year at Arizona last year for Jed Fish. And of course, Fish did a great job of that Arizona program, put him in the top 10 after being the worst team in college football when he took over in 2021. But Jordan is really a high-quality kid, very smart, good pass protector, very athletic, and he'll be he's a good football player. He's a left tackle, and so I don't think there's any doubt about that. And he just needs to get a little bit stronger in the lower body, but this is a good football player. He's got a good future.
You think he needs to relax a little bit over there? The Green Bay Packers fan, Mad Mel, you think maybe relax just a tiny bit?
Well, I'm just saying, you know what the problem is when you don't have a tackle. They don't grow on trees. Mm-hmm. I mean, these guys that are 6'5", 315 pounds that are really athletic, this draft has a bunch of them, so this isn't a bad time to take one. And he's a good player. Morgan's a good player.
Okay, so we saw the Packers go with the tackle.
I'd say there's no way he was getting out of the first round. Okay. I think there were other teams that would have taken him if they didn't, so they probably,
Sounds like you like him a lot, is what that sounds like, Matt Mel. So maybe you...
Making me feel a lot better.
Yeah, broken hand for no reason now.
So, first of all, it's hard not to love Bill Belichick, man. I mean, it's funny because the persona he put out to the media, I think, was essentially just, I hate this. I hate doing this. I hate you people. I hate this awkward garbage. He seems like a genuinely cool guy. Like all the stories he's told sound hilarious. The players love him. He loves his players. But man, you listen to this guy. Not only does he sound like just a genuinely good person, but I love the fact that he's out of the business. Right? He's not doing the scouting this year or anything. He just on a whim, like Jordan Morgan, and he rips through the whole history of Jordan Morgan and the history of Arizona State, and the fact that they had a coach there that was not very good and the program was terrible, and a new coach comes in and turns the program around, which probably had some impact on Jordan Morgan. We saw when it was not very good, and then all of a sudden, boom, light switch comes on. Probably a correlation there, but no, I mean, listen. Again, this is our challenge every single year, and it takes some work. For me also, right? I mean, I got to pry myself out of it, but then I got to try to drag some of you freaking people along with me. I mean, we got to work hard because we are really stuck in this. And the same thing I tell everybody every year, the same thing I have to remind myself of every year is we're just playing a game. When we do these mock drafts, when we do all this, we're just having fun. We're playing a game, but it's fake and it's not real. And now is the real draft. And now is when the guys that really know what they're doing really start to do their jobs. And yes, some of them are going to miss, just like we would miss. But, again, Bill Belichick being so immersed in this, being such a fan of Jordan Morgan. And it's not hard to see why. I mean, it's funny because, I think part of the hard part is there's so many prospects. Right. And I try to go kind of in depth on all of them. I talk about them, but it's so hard to really hone in on one at any point. This guy's good for this reason. This guy's good for this reason, but he's bad for this reason. It's just over and over and over. And it's just every prospect starts to look the same. And then you kind of just come back to your list of, here's the top guy and then the second and third and fourth and on and on. And, DeJean's maybe the 23rd best, and Jordan Morgan, he's probably like the 35th. Like, that's stupid. But when you actually make a pick and you have the opportunity to really just hone in on that player, it's very easy at that point to look at it and go, holy crap. I mean, yeah. For sure, dude. I also love that he comes out and he's like, no, this guy's a left tackle, for sure. And again, like I was saying, as I was passing out on the podcast last night, I think that is the Packers' plan. I think they genuinely see him as a left tackle. I mean, somebody, I think I deleted it, but somebody had posted up a comment of all these tackles and offensive linemen that we've had with really short arms, including Bakhtiari. In fact, Bakhtiari's like the guy we all point to. He had the longest arms of this group. It was like Tauscher and Brian Balaga had short arms, and a whole list of other really good tackles. And they had just these, 33 to 33-ish inch arms. And one of them even had shorter than Morgan, which is, I mean, Jordan Morgan is like 32 and 7/8 or something. But, we'll see. I mean, again, I believe Brian Gutekunst when he says I think he can play all four positions, and we're going to get him in there. We're going to find out who the best five are. I don't think we're done. I think we've got a lot more offensive linemen that are going to be available, and potential interior guys to give us a little bit of extra clarity, because if we start getting some interior offensive linemen and those guys can play, now we got a real legit tackle competition where Rashid might be kind of back where I want him to be, which is as a backup tackle. No offense to Rashid. I like Rashid. He did a decent job at tackle. He did give up the most pressures on our team, so we certainly could use an upgrade there. But, I mean, let's just call it what it is, man. There is very few things in life more valuable than a David Bakhtiari. And I'm not saying Jordan Morgan is that, but the Packers taking a swing at a guy that they hope can be a David Bakhtiari is not something we should be pissed about. It's just not, right? I mean, that is critically important. And again, a rare swing at a guy that seems to be a solid run blocker. We'll see when he actually gets in here. The NFL is different than college football. They're harder guys to move around. Technique is much more important, which sounds like a good thing for him. He sounds like a technical kind of guy, really smart kind of guy. But he's a big boy, and it'll be interesting to see. He ain't 300 pounds or 298 or whatever, like a lot of these guys. Dude weighed in at 6'5", 311. He's a big boy. And the fact that they're talking about making him stronger, I mean, you wonder if they're going to have him pack on a little bit of muscle. Robert Griffin III tweeted out, "The Packers will packer, but Jordan Morgan is the pick you make when you just lost the great David Bakhtiari." It's funny that the Packers will packer. It's so true. The Packers made the right pick, the smart pick. Jordan Love will thank them for it. Jordan Morgan is big, smart, and talented. He will develop into a starter quickly. And listen, I saw on the Cheesehead TV live stream that they were doing. I went and checked to see the pick or whatever. And obviously everybody was kind of just deer in the headlights. And they were talking about it, and they're like, dude, it's a meat and potatoes pick. I've seen other people talk about it, it's a boring pick. And that's true. Offensive line is boring. It just is. It's not corner. These guys are going to fly around, make picks, all that stuff. It's not a wide receiver. It's not these big, flashy, instant impact guys. It's an offensive lineman. But having a great offensive line is one of the most important things you can have. Teams with bad offensive lines suck. And teams with great offensive lines are so hard to beat. I mean, to neutralize pass rushers, to be able to impose your will in the run game. I mean, it's unbelievably critical. And to have a guy like Jordan Love, when you go up against a guy like that, pick your favorite quarterback, these guys that can make great throws with really talented and gifted wide receivers and a great play caller, the number one thing you want to do is get to Jordan Love. That's how you shut down the Packers. If you can't get to Jordan Love with Matt LaFleur calling plays and the receivers and tight ends that we have running routes, you can't if Jordan Love is sitting in the pocket clean, you're dead. It's over. I don't care if they can't run against you. You have to be able to get to Jordan. And so the Packers look at that in the reverse, and they say, if we can keep Jordan clean, we can't lose. I'm winning anyway. I can't lose. You know what I mean? Training day? Come on. And then we're not going to do the actual videos today, but first thing Packers GM Brian Gutekunst says on Jordan Morgan, quote, versatile offensive lineman like we like. He can play four positions for us. I'm just getting more and more excited. As much as I keep thinking like tactically about, please put him inside. Just put him at guard so we have a good guard. Like put him outside, and then we got an offensive line. We're fine. Everything's going to be great. Again, I'm really starting to buy into this left tackle thing. And I'm the guy that hasn't been sold on Rasheed Walker, but even still, it's like, but we can make it work, et cetera. I think they really think that they got their guy at tackle, and that's an awesome thing that we should be excited about. Again, if they swing and miss, fine, but you can swing and miss on anybody. The only reason we're worried about that is because some stupid big board told us that he went, 8 picks too early, 10 picks too early. We got to get that out of our head, man. The Packers think he's a tackle, a legit left tackle. He has versatility, but he's going to come in and he's going to be a legit left tackle. And this is a Packers pick. It's not the flashy pick. They don't care. They're not going to panic, which is what everybody's saying. They panicked and then they reached. No, everybody else panicked. Did you see how much value? We're not going to get into it today. We'll do it another time. Did you see how much value the Vikings lost and Detroit lost? The Vikings, with all these trades, lost surplus value of around an early first-round pick. I'm not saying they gave up a first-round pick. That's already a given. I'm talking about when you subtract out the value given and the value earned, what you have remaining is a negative balance for the Vikings of an early first-round pick. That's how much they overpaid. That's what panicking looks like. Detroit did the same thing. I think it was like a fourth and a fifth round or something crazy like that. Like they gave up surplus value to move up ahead of the Packers to take a player that the Packers were not going to take anyways. I'm sorry to tell you, they were taking Jordan Morgan. Again, it seems impossible to believe. And of course, there's a chance that's not true, but I think it is. And it's why the Packers didn't panic. Again, I was even asking that question during our stream. How do you not trade up 2 spots to get one of the premier corners that was supposed to be gone a long time ago, Terrion Arnold, even Quinion Mitchell? You can't, they're not going to make it to you. I said on the stream, Detroit is going to trade up to Dallas and they're going to steal this corner. We have to get up and get this guy if we want him. You know why they didn't trade? Because they didn't give a crap. They didn't care. So Detroit overpaid. They forfeited value so that they can move up, and they got a good player. I like Terrion Arnold. It went to Detroit. I think the NFC North got some good players. Not denying that. I think they all did stupid crap. The Vikings overpaid. The Bears should have traded back, so they have no picks. Detroit gave away all their picks. Basically, it's going to be only the Packers picking in 2025. Actually, I think the Bears are fine after this year, but they have nothing this year. They were all stupid, but they all got stronger. And I'll say this, if any team has the right to be stupid, it's Detroit. Detroit was knocking on the door of a Super Bowl. You want to be stupid, you want to go all in, fine. I don't think that's necessarily the right thing to do, but you can justify it. And you got a premier position, so fine. You got a guy that fell, great value, you traded up, you overpaid, but whatever, it makes sense. The Bears and the Vikings pretending that they're in all-in mode, you guys are morons. I'm sorry. Like, I get coming up for a quarterback, I guess, but folks. But all right, let's take our final break, and then I don't know how many breaks we've taken. Let's take a break. We'll come back. I want to look at SIS. I want to look at the Beast Guide, and then we're going to get out of here because I need to get this posted because it's getting late. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. All right, let's start off with SIS because there's obviously some pretty good stuff here. So obviously in the size department, Jordan Morgan isn't the greatest. He ranks 20th in height at 6'5". In weight, he ranks 21st at 311. This is among tackles. His arm length is dead last, 32 7/8. It's actually, I know I talked about him at some point because I remember seeing him at the bottom of that list. His hand size, though, is third. Crazy to have the shortest arms, but the third largest hands. Let's see. His 40-yard dash was 16th, or tied for 15th, I guess, with a 5.04. His vert ranked 10th. His broad jump was 10th. 3-cone he did not do. Shuttle he did not do. All right, now let's get into some of the value stuff. So I'm gonna skip total points because it's cumulative, right? So if you played more snaps, whatever. But I'm just gonna go over to their rating system, total points rating, which is sort of like an EPA per play kind of a thing, from 50 to 99, whatever. So on that he ranks 10th for pass blocking. Run blocking, he's second. He's actually, tied for number one. Tylen Grable, Jordan Morgan, and Amarius Mims are the highest run blocker. Now, this is one of the things he gets knocked for, right? He's a pass blocker. He's not a very good run blocker. I mean, SIS doesn't super agree. And in fact, PFF doesn't really agree. Now, he's a better pass blocker via PFF. SIS might see him as a slightly better run blocker, to be completely honest. If you look at the total rating system, Amarius Mims is a 99. Jordan Morgan is tied for second at a 97. He's tied with Joe Alt, Delmar Glaze, and Javon Foster out of Missouri. Holding penalties, he had 2. So nothing super terrible there. It's sort of like 0, 1, 2, 3. And then you've got 2 guys had 4, 1 had 5, and Tylen Grable had 7. So it's not a red flag kind of a situation. And then false start, same thing. He had only 1 false start. It's only kind of a flag for maybe about 7 guys. Two had 6, Fuaga and Javon Foster. Then we get to blown blocks, and this is where it gets really exciting. So, I mean, blown blocks are pretty self-explanatory. You should have blocked the guy, and you just blew it. The guy just freaking dominated you and got right past you, right? So a lower percentage of blown blocks is better. When you're talking pass blocking, and this is out of 28 tackles, he ranks 7th in pass blocking blown blocks. Just 1.7% of his blocks were blown as far as pass blocking. They love Amarius Mims, by the way. Amarius Mims is number 1, 0.7. Then Joe Alt, Christian Jones, Delmar Glaze, Walter Rouse, and then Olu Fashanu before Jordan Morgan, which means he's ahead of J.C. Latham, Patrick Paul, Talise Fuaga, Roger Rosengarten. Who else we got here? Anybody else worth talking about? Not really. He's ahead of those guys. But let's talk about run blocking, shall we? Let's look at some of the top tackles here. Let's see what we can find. First of all, Kingsley Suamataia is the worst. He is 28th out of 28 with a 3.4% blown block rate when run blocking. Patrick Paul is 19th with 1.8%. Amarius Mims, who you would assume is a great run blocker, is 17th, 1.6%. J.C. Latham is 15th, 1.4%. Joe Alt is 11th, 0.9%. Fuaga is 10th. Roger Rosengarten is 9. Fashanu is 5th. Tyler Guyton is 3rd. Delmar Glaze is 2nd. Jordan Morgan is number 1. 0. He is the only tackle with 0 blown blocks as a run blocker. 0. So he's 1st and 7th. The only one that might be better is Delmar Glaze out of Maryland. If we look at scheme splits, mostly just snaps, 70% zone. We kind of already talked about that. Yards per attempt when rushing, I guess, behind Jordan Morgan in zone, 5.4 yards per attempt, which ranks 8th. It's ahead of guys like Glaze and Guyton and Patrick Paul and Suamataia and Fashanu and Rosengarten and Latham. Positive plays. What percentage of plays were positive when running in zone? He had the 5th highest. It's Fuaga, then Nathan Thomas, Amarius Mims, Javon Foster, and then Jordan Morgan. He is ahead of Fashanu, Suamataia, etc. Running gap was 16th in terms of how often he did it. Yards per attempt running gap, 9th. And then positive percentage, 15th. So he's more of a zone guy, for sure, which is a good thing because that's what we do. And then run behind. So this is just kind of looking at, what happens when the running back follows you. So he was 8th in yards per attempt, 5.9 yards per attempt when the running back ran behind Jordan Morgan. Yards before contact per attempt, he was 19th, just 2.2 yards. Positive play percentage, he was 5th. So not a bad decision to run behind him. EPA per attempt, when they ran behind Jordan Morgan, he ranked 4th. Just KT Levinson, Amarius Mims, and Blake Fisher were ahead of him. So look, via SIS and PFF, he's better than a lot of the tackles here. From a statistical standpoint, you want to argue the tape, that's fine. You want to argue the potential based on the size and athleticism and all that, that's fine. But I'm just telling you, statistically speaking, what he was able to produce at Arizona is better than a lot of the guys that went in the first round. All right, finally, let's go through the beast. Now, obviously, we've already done this, but now that we drafted him, let's really hone in on what was said. First of all, very important to note, not only does he view Jordan Morgan as a guard, but he has him as the number 2 guard in this draft. He has Troy Fautanu as number 1, and then Jordan Morgan is number 2. Those are the only 2 interior guys, the only 2 guards that he has first-round grades on. Now, Fautanu is a first round. Jordan Morgan is first to second round, but just to be clear. All right, here we go. Jordan Morgan, Arizona, 6'5", 311 from Marana, Arizona, 22.7 years old. He's one of 3 children, has a brother and a sister, was born and raised in the Tucson area. His father, John, is a Tucson police officer. Morgan started playing football in 3rd grade, but didn't love it and briefly gave it up after only 1 year. Because his older brother played football, he returned to the sport in middle school. Morgan enrolled at Cholla High School, where he played quarterback and tight end as a 5'10", 180-pound freshman. He transferred to Marana High School as a sophomore. He hit a growth spurt 6 inches and started to gain weight, moving to offensive line. As a junior, Morgan started at right tackle and on the defensive line, helping Marana to an undefeated 12-0 record. As a senior, Morgan moved to left tackle and earned all-state honors. He added 29 tackles on defense and again leading Marana to a state playoff. He also lettered in track and advanced to state as a senior in 2019, setting personal bests, of 50 feet 9 inches in the shot put and 139.4 in the discus and 149.6 in the javelin. So anybody that knows about that, there you go. He was a 3-star recruit. Morgan was the number 138 offensive tackle in the 2019 recruiting class, the number 30 recruit in Arizona. With his late growth spurt, he wasn't well known on the recruiting trail until he attended a camp in northern Arizona the summer before his senior year. The FCS host school was the first to offer Morgan, followed by head coach Kevin Sumlin and Arizona. Soon after, Morgan committed to his hometown program. Arizona State and USC entered the picture late and extended offers during his senior year. Morgan came close to flipping to the Trojans, but he wanted to stay home so his family could more easily attend the games and events. He was planning to leave for the NFL after the 2022 season, but his late ACL injury led him back to Arizona for a 5th season in 2023. Random fact, and this is glorious, he loves horror movies, has tattoos of Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers, Pennywise, and others. That's so good. Morgan opted out of the 2023 bowl game and accepted his invitation to the 2024 Senior Bowl. I love that. A couple little notes here by year. 2019, played 6 games, started 2 at left tackle. He planned to redshirt, but injuries forced him to play. His first career start came versus Oregon and Kayvon Thibodeau. In 2020, he played 2 games, started both of them. Missed final 3 games due to injury. Pandemic shortened the season. In 2021, he played and started all 11 games, missed the season opener with a left ankle sprain. 2022, played 10, started 10. Honorable mention All Pac-12, missed the final 2 games due to a right knee injury. 2023, played 12, started 12, first team All Pac-12, team captain, missed the bowl game because he opted out. So in total, he played 41 games, started 37 of them. Strengths, natural knee bender and stays balanced in his pass sets. NFL quality feet, body control, and size/length. Fast eye to comfortable pass off and pick up rushers. Initiates contact in the run game with aggressive mentality. Explosive takeoff and range when pulling or on outside zone. Has the strength in his hands to turn, seal edge defenders. Able to re-leverage his body as a drive blocker and when combining bull rush. Trusted by his coaching staff and doesn't receive much help on the left side. Well regarded as a leader in the program and was named the 2023 captain. Arizona offensive coordinator Brennan Carroll said, quote, fantastic role model. He's a beacon in the weight room. The guys follow him and get behind him. After struggling to maintain his weight in the past, he added 60 pounds since enrolling at Arizona, stayed healthy as a senior. Weaknesses. Average lateral range and doesn't always get proper depth as a pass blocker. Caught drifting outside, which creates soft inside shoulders. 2 holding penalties in 2023. Hands are adequately timed, but not always forceful to knock away long arms or power-based moves. Needs to do a better job breaking contact to aid his anchor. Can be jostled in the run game by side angle blocks. Battled several ankle injuries, including a high left ankle sprain during preseason camp, August 2021, which caused him to miss the season opener and play through pain most of the year. season-ending torn ACL November 2022, requiring surgery and leading him back to Arizona for a 5th season. Left tackle only in college, doesn't have in-game guard experience. 100% of college snaps came at offensive tackle. In summary, 4-year starter at Arizona, Morgan was a constant at left tackle in offensive coordinator Brennan Carroll's zone-based scheme. Carroll is the son of Pete Carroll and was the assistant offensive line coach for the Seattle Seahawks from 2015 to 2021. After Arizona won a combined 5 games during his first 3 seasons on campus, Morgan helped lead the program turnaround in 2023. Arizona won 10 games in a season for just the second time since 1998. A quick-footed blocker, Morgan displayed range and aggression in the run game and gets on top of rushers quickly in his jump sets when he uses well-timed hands. His struggles in pass protection come when he is over-aggressive with his kick slide and gets too far up the arc, which can create two-way go for rushers and open the door for inside counters. Overall, Morgan struggles to anchor mid-slide versus power, but he is a balanced mover who is well-schooled and physical in all phases. Though he can survive at tackle in the NFL, his skill set projects much better inside at guard, similar to Matthew Bergeron. Grade, 1st, 2nd round, number 29 overall. There's that massive reach. All right, I got to get out of here. It's 11 o'clock. I need to get this posted for your consumption before you are completely given up. I should have covered some of the prospects we have coming up today, but I didn't. We're out of time. If you're wanting to talk about that, please come check out our stream, okay? Go to the Packernet Podcast YouTube channel. Go subscribe, hit the bell notification. We're going live at 5:30, I think, something like that, Central Time. Otherwise, if you're subscribed on Clayton's stream or whatever, that's fine. I'll be on social media. I cannot stream to Facebook because I'm joining Clayton's link. It only lets me do 2, but I will try to remember to share it on there like I did yesterday. But yeah, please come hang out with us. We had a lot of good time. Also, as a side note, I told everybody I would do a shot of really hot sauce. If you think I'm lying, you can look it up. If we get to 2,000 people watching our stream, we got to a little over 1,700 yesterday. We've got an extra round today, so I'm thinking today's the day. We might have to set up some tiers, like at 1,000, which we're guaranteed to crack. I shouldn't say guaranteed. It's not day one. Maybe your people aren't as interested, but, slam a drink or something, and then at 2,000, slam a hot sauce. And if we get to 3,000, I don't know, gouge my freaking eyeballs out or something. I don't know. Anything for the people, as long as it's sadistic and awful. But, all right, I look forward to talking to you guys there. I'm excited, man. I'm excited for another day. I'm gonna leave this with the new diss song that I dropped on social media, welcoming Caleb Williams to the NFL. Have a good one. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Caleb stepping up, the Bears' newest blunder, painted nails and a spirit that's bound to go under. First pick drama, all eyes on the fall. Is he ready for the big leagues or not at all? From USC glitz to the Bears, tough breaks. A city that's cursed with high stakes and mistakes. You're the chosen one, but that title's a curse. In a team where the good quickly turns to the worst. Crying to mommy when the losses stack. But baby, this is Chicago, they don't cut you slack. Playing tough guy with a teacup in your fist. In the land of real monsters, do you even exist? Bears fans weep for another wasted shot. Drafting a pretty face, thinking he's what they're not. A spectacle, not the savior. In Soldier Field's chill. Where dreams falter, will you even feel? The spotlight's harsh, your colors on show, but beneath the paint, there's a warrior glow. Questions linger, can you throw or just pose? In a jersey so burdened, under shadows you froze. Leadership's calling, but who will you lead? A band of lost hopes in a city that bleeds. Will your tears wash away the sins of the past, or will you fade out, just another broadcast? So Caleb, brace yourself, your downfall's near. In the windy city, there's more jeers than cheers. We all waiting, just a matter of when. In Chicago, it's not if but when you'll bend.